Okay, greetings one and all, and welcome to this math video. In this math video, we'll be considering the topic pie charts. Yes, pie charts. Let's begin. Okay, the question says the following. In a survey, a group of 1,440 tourists were asked to name their favorite Bahamian dish. Again, in a survey, a group of 1,440 tourists were asked to name their favorite Bahamian dish. Their responses are shown in the pie chart below. So we find that 20% of 1,440 named minced lobster as their favorite. And we have 15% name steamed grouper as their favorite. We find that we have 108 degrees for conch fritters. And for conch salad, we have 90 degrees because this box here represents 90 degrees. Okay, it says find the angle. They want us to find the angle representing minced lobster. All right, notice that this whole thing, right, it's a circle, right? And we know that angles inside a circle add up to 360 degrees. And so what we're going to do is we're going to say what is 20% of 360 degrees. So angles representing minced lobster is going to be 20% of 360. And every time we use of, we're going to multiply. So we write 20% multiplied by 360. And we have 20 over 100. And 20 over 100, that's what 20% is, multiplied by 360. We multiply the 20 times 360, you get 7,200, and we multiply 100 by 1 to get 100. Then we divide 7,200 by 100, and that gives us 72 degrees. So the angle representing minced lobster is 72 degrees. Okay, let's move on to the next question. It says, find the percentage of tourists that choose conch fritters. And the percentage of tourists that choose conch fritters is 30%. And let me show you how we got 30%. Okay, so percentage of tourists that choose conch fritters, we know that conch fritters is right here. That accounts for 108 degrees. But remember, this is 108 degrees, right? But this is 108 degrees a part of a whole of 360. So this 108 degrees of 360 in the sense that when we add up all the angles inside the circle, we're going to get 360. And 108 degrees is just a part of that 360. So that's why we put it over 360. So 108 over 100. So 108 over 360 because 108 is part of the entire circle, which in all the angles add up together gives us 360 degrees. Now we have 108 over 360, that's a fraction. And we want to multiply it by 100 over 1 to turn it into a percentage. So let's multiply. 108 multiplied by 100 is 10,800. And we have 360 multiplied by 1. That's going to be 360. And then we divide. So we see 10,800 divided by 360. That's going to give us 30. And so that's why we get 30% as our percentage of tourists that choose conch fritters. Okay, let's remember that the percentage of tourists that choose conch fritters is 30%. So this right here is 108 degrees or 30%. Okay, we want to find the number of tourists that picked crab and rice. Okay, so how are we going to do that? Well, the first thing we're going to do is we want to figure out the percentage of tourists that choose conch salad. And so here we have the degrees, but we don't have the percentage. So what percentage choose conch salad? So we have to say 90 over 360 because this 90 is part of the circle, and we know that angles in the circle is 360 degrees. So this 90 is going to be over 360. We want to multiply it by 100 to change it into a percentage. So we have 90 over 360 multiplied by 100 over 1 because we want to change this fraction into a percentage. So we say 90 times 100, which is 9,000. And we have 360 multiplied by 1, which is 360. And now we divide. We're going to divide 9,000, right? 9,000 divided by 360. That's going to give us 25. And so what that means is 25% is the percentage of tourists that choose conch salad. All right. And so moving right along, we want the percentage of tourists that pick crab and rice. Okay, so we want the percentage of tourists that pick crab and rice. Remember that this right here, Kong salad percentage of tourists that pick Kong salad is going to be 25%. That's what we just found. Also remember that the percentage of tourists for Kong fritters was 30%, right? There was 30% according to our last, our last question, part B. And so we need to figure out what is the percentage for crab and rice. And in order to figure out the percentage for crab and rice, we already know, right? We already know that this is 25%. We already know that this is 20%. We already know that this is 15%. And we already know that this is 30%. And so we need to figure out like, what is this? What is the percentage for crab and rice? And so in order to do that, we have to subtract 100% minus 20% from minced lobster, 15% from steamed grouper, 30% from conch fritters, and 25% from conch salad. And so it's going to be 100 minus 90, because if let's add it, 20 plus 15 plus 30 plus 25 is going to be 90. So 100% minus 90 is going to be equal to 10%. And so that means that the percentage for crab and rice is going to be 10%. So this right here is 10%, all right? But what they asked us for is not the percentage, even though we know that the percentage is 10%, right? What they asked us for is they want the number of tourists. They want the number of tourists that picked crab and rice. We want the number of tourists that pick crab and rice. And so we have to do 10% of the total, right? 10% of 1,440. And so the number of tourists that pick crab and rice is going to be 10% of 1,440. We're going to multiply 10 over 100 multiplied by 1,440 over 1. Multiply 10 times 1,440, and we get 14,400. And we do 100 times 1, which is going to be 100. We divide 14,400 by 100, and we get 144. So the number of tourists that pick crab and rice is going to be 144. Now, if you're trying to be mathematically precise, we should not have this percent sign, even though the answer is 25. The answer is 25. We should not have the percent sign right there, even though we're going to say the answer is a percentage, right? We're not going to put the percent side there. We're going to put the percentage sign below. So the answer is 25%. So don't put the percent sign in that particular equation, but put it at the bottom. Then you can say, yes, the answer is 25%. Okay. All right, so let's move on to the next question. And so let's go. So let's say we want to figure out, it says here a group of 252 students were asked to pick their favorite pizza topping. The same number of students that picked bacon and chicken. The same number of students picked bacon and chicken. The results are shown in the pie chart below. So we have 100 degrees, which accounts for the people for pepperoni, X degrees, which accounts for the people in chicken and bacon, because they are the same amount. Mushroom, which accounts for 30 degrees. Sausage, which accounts for 70 degrees. And they want us to figure out how to calculate angle X. Well, we know that the angles in a circle definitely going to add up to 360 degrees. So that means that 30 plus 70 plus 100 plus X is going to be equal to 360, because there are angles in a circle, and angles in a circle add up to 180. Sorry, angles in a circle add up to 360 degrees, or we say angles around a point. This is the middle point. Angles around a point add up to 360 degrees. That's a better way to say it. And so we have, let's add 70 plus 30 plus 100. What does that give us? Oh, that's not what I did first. I did the x's first. Okay, so let's add the x's first. So this x, the coefficient in front of the x, even though we do not see it, but every time we do not see the coefficient that is implied is 1. So this is actually 1x, and this is 1x. And so 1x plus 1x is definitely going to be 2x. All right, and we keep everything as normal. And then now we're going to add up our numbers, right? So what is 30 plus 70 plus 100? That's going to give us 200, right? So we have 200 plus 2x equals to 360. Okay, so let me erase our link. Again, we have 200 plus 2x equals to 360. We're going to send the 200 over the equal sign. And it was a positive 200. Now it becomes a negative 200. So we have 360 minus 200, and 360 minus 200 is definitely 160. And so we have 2x equals to 160. We divide both sides by 2. And when we divide both sides by 2, we are left with x is equal to 160 divided by 2, and 160 degrees. Sorry, and 160 divided by 2 is definitely 80. And so that means that x is 80. What that means is that bacon accounts for 80 degrees and chicken accounts for 80 degrees. Okay, let's move on to the correct answer. So let's move on to the next part. It says calculate how many more students like pepperoni than mushrooms. So when they ask us how many more students like pepperoni than mushrooms, what they're saying is that more persons like pepperoni than mushrooms. And we know that because mushrooms accounts for 100 degrees. Pepperoni accounts for 100 degrees and mushroom accounts for 30. But how much more? How much more is how much more is pepperoni than mushroom, right? So they're asking us to find the difference. So first we need to find the number of students for pepperoni. Then we need to find the number of students for mushroom. And then we need to find the difference. We need to subtract those two values. And so we have the number of students that like pepperoni, and we're going to get that because we know that we have 100 over 360. And it's over 360 because we know angles in a circle add up to 360 degrees. So it's 100 over 360 multiplied by 252 over 1. 250 because it's 252 because it's 252 students. And then we're going to multiply 100 times 252 is 250 is 25,200, and 360 multiplied by 1 is 360. And so we have 25200, 25,200 divided by 360. And that's going to give us a 70. So that means that 70 students like pepperoni. Now let's move on to mushrooms. We know that mushrooms accounts for 30 degrees of the 360, so 30 over 360, multiplied by, again, 252, because that's the total amount of students in the group. We multiply 30 by 252, and we get 7,560. So 30 multiplied by 252 gives us 7,560. And then 360 multiplied by 1 is going to be 360. Next, we divide. We say 7,560 divided by 360 is going to be equal to 21. All right, so the number of students that like mushroom is going to be 21. So we know that the number of students that like pepperoni is 70, and the number of students that like mushroom is 21. And so if we want to find the difference between pepperoni and mushrooms, right, what do we have to do? Well, we have to subtract. So 70 minus 21. What is 70 minus 21? 70 minus 21, let's do it. 70 minus 21, that's going to be 49. 70 minus 21 equals to 49. And so the answer here is 49. So we said 49 students like pepperoni than mushrooms. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Question B. Write in lowest terms the fraction of students who like sausage. Sausage is right here. We know that it's going to be 70 degrees out of a total of 360 degrees. So the fraction of students who like sausage is going to be 70 over 360, would be wanted in lowest terms. So what number can go into 70 and 360 without leaving a remainder? It's going to be 10. So 70 divided by 10 is going to be 7. And 360 divided by 10 is going to be 36. And so the answer is 7 over 36. And that is the fraction of students who like sausage in lowest terms. Okay, moving on to question, this other question. It says, a group of 24 tourists were asked which of the Fami Islands they enjoyed most. The results are shown in the table below. So we have the island, we have the number of tourists, and we have the angle in pie chart. So for example, we have 10 tourists, which accounts for 150 degrees from the pie chart. We have Eleuthera, which is 6 tourists, and that accounts for 90 degrees when we're looking at our pie chart. And then we have abaco, which is 5 tourists, and we don't know how much, or we don't know the amount of angles that it accounts for. We don't know the measure of the angle that it accounts for. And for Andros, we just don't know anything. All right, so we have to fill out these numbers before doing anything. So we have to complete the table. So let's figure out what is the number of tourists in Andros, right? Because we want to figure out what this one is, right? We know that there are 24 tourists in total. So it's going to be 24, right? Minus 10 plus 6 plus 5. All right. And so 24 minus 10 plus 6 plus 5. And so we know that 10 plus 6 plus 5, let's add that together. 10 plus 6 plus 5 is going to be 21. And so 24 minus 21 is definitely equal to 3. And so that means that the number of tourists in Andros is 3. Okay. So now we have filled out all of the number of tourists. Now we need to figure out what is the angle for abaco. So the angle for abaco, let's see, we have 5 over 24. Why did I do 5 over 24? Well, 5 over 24, well, there are 5 number of tourists for abaco, and it's out of a full 24, and I multiply it by 360 because we want to try to find what fraction of 360 is abaco. And so we have 5 over the 24 multiplied by 360 because that's the total number of the angle. And so we multiply 5 times 360, 5 times 360. Again, 5 times 360, and that gives us 1,800. We multiply 24 times 1, which gives us 24. So we have 1,800 divided by 24, which gives us 75. So the angle for abaco is 75 degrees. Now we need to figure out what is the angle for Andros. Well, the angle for Andros is going to be, well, 3 out of 24, right? Because there are three persons for abaco out of the 24, and we multiply by 360 because that is the total amount for the angles, right? All the angles in the circle is going to add up to 360 degrees. So we have 360 over 1. We multiply 3 times 360, and that gives us, what is it, 3 times 360, that gives us 1,080. And we have 24 multiplied by 1, which is going to be 24. And so we have to divide here, 1,080 divided by 24, and that's going to give us 45. And so the angle for Andros is definitely going to be 45. And if we add 150, 90, let's add that 150 plus 90 plus 75, right, plus 45, and that gives us 360. So we know that we're heading in the right direction. Okay, let's move on to the next part. The next part is that they want us to actually draw this out. So they want us to actually draw it out on they actually want us to draw it accurate to the actual, they want us to draw the pie chart using the angles inside the chart. Okay, that's the next part of the question. I didn't put it here for some reason. I didn't put the question there, but the next part of the question, I wish I had it in there, but the next part of the question is that they want us to actually draw it out using our pencil, using our ruler, using our compass, right, and protractor. So they want us to actually construct this pie chart using these angles. Now, this is a finished version of it. This is how it's going to look when it's finished. Obviously, 150 accounts for the 150 in Exoma. The 90 is for the 90 in Elutra. The 75 degrees is for the 75 in Abaco. And for Andros, that's the 45. So I'm going to show you how we're going to actually do this using our ruler, using our pencil. So we're going to use our ruler, we're going to use our pencil, we're going to use our protractor, we're going to use our compass. So let's look at it. So notice here that what we have to do is we have to construct a pie chart, and we have to construct a pie chart, and the pie chart has to have a radius of 4 centimeters. All right. Now I didn't put the question inside of the video, but let me show the question first. So I'm gonna pause the video and come back and show you the question so we can be on the same page of what we're doing. Okay, so we're back, and this is the complete question. as you can see for part BI, it says using a ruler compass, construct a circle with a 4 centimeter radius. All right. And so that's what we have to do. And then the second part says draw an accurate pie chart to represent the information in the completed table. So we completed the table already, and we had that, we had the table completed right here. So we already completed the table. And so all we need to do is we need to construct a circle rather, that has a 4 centimeter radius. And we need to draw an accurate pie chart to represent this information that we have in the completed table. I already showed you a completed one. This is how it's going to look when it's completed, but I want to show you how we get those values, all right, or how we go about actually drawing it and constructing it. Okay, so let's continue. So let's look at it. So the first thing that we want to do is we want to make sure that we have 4 centimeters. The 4 centimeters is our radius. So let's do that. So we're going to start at 0. Make sure start at 0. Don't start at this part of the circle. Start at 0. All right, exactly at 0. Don't start at the the other part. Start where we have our first indication, right? Start where we have the first mark. All right, so let's do that. So let's zoom in. We have to do it to 4 centimeters. Right, so we start here. All right, and then 4 centimeters. All right, so 4 centimeters, that has to be 4 centimeters. Okay, let's measure it. All right, and it's about 4 centimeters. All right, and so what we're gonna do here is, okay, it's about 4 centimeters. I mean, I think I could do a better job at that, so let's do it a better job. So we have, let's do it again. So start at 0. Start at 0. We're gonna go over 4 centimeters. All right, go over 4 centimeters, like, let's go back 4 centimeters. Okay, and so, all right, good. So that's 4 centimeters. And so what we're gonna do, let's label it 4 centimeters. No, let's not label it because we have to write other things inside it. So let's just get our compass and also consider it 4 centimeters. Open it to 4 centimeters. Good. Let's lock that in. Again, it's already 4 centimeters, so we're good. And so what we have to do is we have to construct a circle that is 4 centimeters in measure. So let me go all the way around. Good. And so that's what we have. Good. And so now the next thing that we want to do is we want to notice that, if you remember clearly, one of the angles inside the circle was 90 degrees. And so we're going to construct a 90 degree. And so we're going to start here. 90 degrees is going to be straight up, straight above. That's 90 degrees. And so let's use our pencil and protractor to do 90 degrees. So now again, 90 degrees is going to be up here. So it's going to be 90 degrees is right there. Okay, that's 90 degrees. And so what we're going to do now is we're going to, let's move this. We're going to do this, pull this up all the way up to 90 degrees. Now for you, you're going to use your ruler to get it accurate. So you're going to draw a straight line all the way. But you're not going to do it all the way up. You're just going to do it up to, I mean, you can do it all the way up and then erase it. All right. And so you erase this line. You don't want to have the line overlapping the circle. All right. Let's denote that it's 90 degrees by putting a box. All right. That's 90 degrees. All right. And so this is 90 degrees right now. And so what else? Well, what we need is we need 150 degrees. And so we're going to start here. And I'm going to carry it here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this line, the line that is for 90 degrees. I'm going to use that so that that could be my base. All right. So this right here is going to be one side of my angle. And I'm going to start counting from here, 0, 10, 20, 30, and so on. All right. So let's make sure it's great. Okay, it's good. So, okay. Let's move it over a little bit more. Okay, good. So we start at 0, we want 150, right? So we're gonna go 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100, 110, 130, 140, 150. So your 150 is gonna be right over here. And so what does that mean? I need to put a point for 150. All right, so 150 is gonna be right here is 150. So let me put 150 there. I should have a point for it. It's gonna be 150. We're looking for 150. Let's see if I could zoom in and see if I could put it. So 150 should be right there. A little bit more. Right there. Okay, good. So that's 150. And so we're going to, it's a little off. So let me draw another point to show it properly. There we go. Okay, good. So 150 is going to be right there. So let's move this protractor, and you're going to use a ruler to actually draw it. So extend this line over. Good. Okay, so that right there is 150. Okay, so this is going to be 150. You could either put it inside. Well, let's put it inside. I don't want a box space. I don't know what's gonna happen with this. So let me just keep it outside. But you can put it on the outside, on inside, right? 150. And so we have 150 now. What else we need? We need 45. Okay, 45 is another one that we need. And what else after 45? Well, we add 45 and we add 75, right? And so let's consider that. So let's go here. I'm gonna go back here. Let's make this my base. And I'm going to go around here. Okay, I want to draw 75 degrees, and so this right here, this line right here is going to be my base. All right, this line is my base. I'm going to start here, 0, right, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, and then I want 75 degrees, right? So 75 degrees, so let's do that. 75 degrees is going to be right here. This is where 75 degrees is going to be. So let me put the dot here for 75 degrees. And so it's going to be right there. Okay, that's 75 degrees. So this right here is 75 degrees. And so as you can see, this is 70 and then 75 in the middle and then 80. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a line that extends from this point all the way to this point. You're going to use your ruler to do that in your case. I'm going to use a ruler. And so what we have here is this is going to be, let me label it. This is going to be 75 degrees. Again, like I said, you can put on the outside or inside. All right, so it's going to be 45 degrees. All right, and then not 45, sorry, it's going to be 75. I hope I hope they don't take out everything. Oh my. Okay, so when I did that, they took out everything. So let me bring it back. So we just have to change the number. So let's keep it here. So it's going to be all right, so it's going to be 75. This is actually 75. Let me just change the number to 75. So this right here is 75. Okay, supposed to be 75. Okay, so that's 75 degrees. And then what we have this one is going to be 45 automatically because that's the only one that's left. So this is going to be 45 degrees. All right, so this is 45 degrees. And let's name it. So remember that 90 was for Eleuthera. Okay, so 90 is going to be for Eleuthera. But let me just measure it so you can see that the measurements are accurate or at least near accurate. So let's measure them. So this right here is definitely going to be or should be 90 degrees. As you can see, 0, there, 90. All right, that's 90, so that's good. The next one we need to measure is, as you can see clearly, if you look carefully, it's 90 degrees. All right, this angle is 90 degrees. If we look again, we want to to 150, all right? And so for 150, we can start here. This is 0 all the way, all the way, all the way to 150. As you can see, that's on 150, all right? And then we want to do 75. So 75, 75. Okay, let me move this over. Let's move it over. Okay, so we start at 0, 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 75. Okay, and so let's do 45. Let's do 45. So we start here at 0. So this is 0, right? 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 45. And so that means that our pie chart is accurate. And so we have to name it still. So let me take this. We have to do some editing to this. So let's go ahead and edit this. Make sure I'm putting all of the necessary things that go into it. This right here is the completed version. All right, this is a better look at it with my numbers looking better. And so what I had earlier was this one. And like I said to you, what you want to do is you want to remove all of the extra lines. And so let's remove them. So we're gonna remove all of the extra lines. And so we're gonna have, remove them. So remove it. All right, so that one is cleared. And then what else? What else? We need to remove this line and this line. So let's remove that. And so we can remove it by simply doing it like this. And let's remove it. So it's going to be remove all that. Okay. In your case, you're gonna have a actual eraser, so you could actually erase it out. But in my case, I'm doing this on computer, so don't actually have something to erase it with in my case. So at least I want to do it that way, this way. So let me just say that. Because that software, that online thing I was using, it can erase, but I am afraid that it would erase other things when it erase. So I'm just gonna do it this way. And so good. And so I think we have everything. Okay, perfect. Only thing I need to do now is, let's move this up. The only thing that we need to do now is, good. The only thing that we need to do now is change to 75. And so let's make the 75 better. And so it's going to be 75 degrees. And then what we want to do as well is we want to also put the labels on these things. So we also want to put the labels on these as well. Right, so let's put 75 in now. So this is going to be 75 degrees, 75 degrees, as degree sign. Insert. And the degrees. Okay, good, perfect. So let's put 75 degrees right here, much better. Okay, so this is a completed one. The only thing we need to do is put the labeling now. So for the 90, remember the 90, if we were to go back to our picture, the 90 represented Eleuthera. So 90 is for Eleuthera. All right, so let's put this up here. So the 90 is for Eleuthera. So we're gonna put Eleuthera, E-L-E-U-T-H-E-R-A. That's Eleuthera. And let me denote that in red. That's Eleuthera. Good. And then we have, what else? We have 90 is for Eleuthera. Then 150 is for Exoma. So this one is going to be for Exoma. Exoma. isomer. And then we have, that's isomer. And what else we have? We have 154 isomer, and then we have 75 for arbuckle. If you look at the question properly, we have 75 for arbuckle, 150 for isomer, and andros is 45. So 75 for arbuckle. So it's going to be arbuckle. And then for andros, we're going to have, 45 for andros, 45 degrees. Okay, great. And so this is the completed version. Remember, they asked us to draw an accurate pie chart to represent information. So we have a pie chart right here that shows exactly what's happening. All right, so we know that 150 is for isomer. All right, 150 degrees. We know that Eleuthera is going to be 90 degrees. All right, as shown in this diagram. Let me use the symbol. We know that Eleuthera is going to be for 90 degrees. We also know that arbuckle is 75 degrees. All right, we know that andros is 45 degrees. And so that's it. That is how we draw an accurate pie chart based on the information given. Okay, let's move on to the next question. It says, the circle graph shows how Shelley allocates her monthly salary of 1,800. It says 13.33% is for savings, 35% for rent, 96 degrees is for utilities, and for food, we do not have any information. And they say here, calculate the amount allocated for rent. Okay, so for rent, the amount allocated for rent is going to be 35% because rent is 35%, but 35% of what? Well, 35% of our salary, and we know that of means multiplication. So we're going to say 35% or 35 over 100, because that's what 35% is, multiplied by 1,800 over 1. And we're going to multiply 35 times 1,800. So 35 multiplied by 1,800 is going to be 63,000. And we do 100 multiplied by 1, which is 100. Now we divide them, and the answer here is 630. Okay, so that means that for her rent, she pays $630. Okay, let's move on to the next question. It says, we want to calculate the degrees of the sector representing savings. The degrees representing savings. We know that savings is 13.33%. But 13.33% of what? 13.33% of 360. Because they want degrees, right? They don't want amount from a salary. They want degrees. So we're gonna say 13.33% of 360. What we're gonna do here is, that's the degree representing savings. What we're gonna do here is we're gonna change this improper fraction, which is 13.33%. We're gonna change that 13.33 to, we're gonna change that 13.33, which is a mixed number. So 13.33, we're gonna change it into an improper fraction. And the way we do that is we multiply 13 by 3. And 13 multiplied by 3 is definitely 39. And we add 1, so it's gonna be 40, right? 40 over 3. 40 over 3, because we keep the denominator. All right, let me explain that again. What we do in order to change this mixed number into an improper fraction, we multiply 13 by 3, which is 39. And then we say 39 plus 1, right? And so 39 plus 1 is definitely 40, and we keep the denominator. So what we actually have is 40 over 3% multiplied by 360 over 1. And we need to change this 40 over 3 percent into something that we could actually use in our calculation. So we want to change, we want to figure out what is 40 over 3% written as a fraction, right? And so what that means is that we have to divide by 100, because that's what it means. If we have like 20%, that means 20 over 100, or 20 divided by 100. If we have 30%, that means 30 divided by 100. If we have 40%, that means 40 divided by 100. So if we have 40 over 3%, that's going to be 40 over 3 divided by 100. And so how do we divide fractions? Well, what we do is we change this division sign into a multiplication sign, and we switch the fraction on the right. So we change the division sign into multiplication sign, and we flip it. So we put the 1 on top and the 100 on the bottom. And so that's how we divide 40 over 3 by 100. And so what we do is we do 40 times 1, which is going to be 40, and then 3 times 100, which is going to be 300. The 360 over 1, we keep that all along. We do not change it. And so we have 40 over 300. And that is 40 over 3%, right? So 40 over 3% is exactly 40 over 300 in terms of a fraction. And so now we're ready to multiply. So we have 40 over 300 multiplied by 360. We say 40 times 360. And what is that? Well, 40 times 360 is definitely 14,400. And then we say 300 times 1, which is 300. And so we have to divide now. 14,400 divided by 300 is definitely 48. And so the answer here is 48. The degrees of the sector representing savings is 48 degrees. Let's move on to the next question. It says, calculate the amount that Shelley spends on food. The amount that Shelley spends on food. Well, in order to figure that one out, I mean that's the amount of her salary. And so we know that food, but we don't have no information on food. What we do know, however, is we know that that the degrees of the sector is for 13 and a third percent is actually 48. And so how are we going to do this? Well, we need to find a percentage for utilities. Well, how do we find a percentage for utilities? Well, percentage for utilities is going to be 96 over 360. 96 over 360 because angles in a circle add up to 360 degrees. And so this is 96 of 360. So it's 96 rather out of, sorry, 96 out of 360. So that's why we have this as a fraction multiplied by 100 over 1 because we're trying to change this fraction into a percentage. And so we say 96 multiplied by 100, that's going to be 9,600. And then we say 36 multiplied by 1, that's going to be 360. I'm sorry, 360 multiplied by 1, which is 360. And so we divide 9,600 by 360, and we get 26 and a third %. Now, it's very important to know how we get that. You can just put in your calculator. If you put in your calculator, what your calculator would give you will be, if you do 9,600 divided by 360, it'll give you, in terms of a decimal, right? Depending on what calculator you have, but in terms of a decimal, what it'll give you is, it'll give you 26, right? 26 point, right? 6, 6, 6, continuing on, continue on. But 0.66666 is actually equal to, so 0.666 continuing, right? That's actually equals to 2 over 3, right? And so what that basically mean is that what we have actually is 26 and 2 over 3, all right? We do not need to put the percentage sign, all right? Not right here. What we have to do is we have to say our answer is 26 and 2 over 3%. So 26, our answer is, let me erase that. So our answer, let me move this on. So we'd say that means our answer, let me put it on the side. So we're saying that means our answer right here, our answer for utilities, right, is going to be 26 and 2 over 3%. All right, and so that's how we got it. The reason why we got it is because we know that when we divide 9,600 by 360, we get 26.66666, but 0.66666 is just 2 over 3. And so that means that we actually have 26 and 2 over 3, all right? And so in terms of a percentage, it's 26 and 2/3%, all right? And so that's the percentage for utilities. Now, what we need to figure out is we need to figure out, okay, what is the percentage on food? Please bear in mind that the percentage for utilities is 26 and 2 over 3%, 26 and 2 over 3%. All right, so that means that if we want to try to find a percentage on food, we already know that the percentage for rent is 35%. The percentage for savings is 13 and a third percent. And the percentage for utilities is 26 and 2 over 3%. So we just need to add those three up and then subtract it from 100, all right? So that's going to be, if we add 35 and 13 and 1 over 3 plus 26 and 2 over 3, all of them being percentage, we get 75%. And so we have 100 minus 75, which is going to give us 25. So 100% minus 75% is 25%. And so what we need to do now is we already know the percentage on food. Now we need to figure out what is the actual amount spent on food. And so to find that, the amount spent on food, we have to do 25%, which is the percentage for food, right? 25% of 1,800. And so that's going to be 25 over 100, because that's what 25% is. 25 over 100 multiplied by 1,800 over 1. We do 25 multiplied by 1,800. So 25 multiplied by 1,800 is going to be equal to 45,000. And we do 100 multiplied by 1, which is going to be 100. And so we do 45,000 divided by 100. And so let's divide that by 100. That's going to give us 450. And so the amount spent on food is going to be equal to 450. Okay, let's move on to the next question. It says the circle graph shows the distribution of students on the college. All right. We have 16% for seniors, 36.5% for freshmen, 63 degrees for juniors, and sophomore, we have no information. It says calculate the percentage of the sector representing juniors. So juniors is 63 degrees, and that's going to be 63 degrees out of 360 because the angles in the side of the circle add up to 360 degrees. And so we have 63 over 360, that's the fraction representing juniors. And we want to change that fraction into a percentage. So we multiply it by 100 over 1. So we say 63 multiplied by 100 is 6,300. And we have 360 multiplied by 1, which is going to be 360. So we have 6,300 divided by 360. That's going to be 17.5. And so that means that our percentage is 17.5%. All right. Do not write the percentage here. Write the percentage afterwards as your answer. All right. Okay, so let's move on to the next question. It says calculate the percentage of the sector representing sophomores. We already know that juniors is 17.5%. We knew that from the previous question. So that means that the percentage of sectors representing juniors is going to be 100 minus the 16% from seniors, the 36.5% from the freshmen, and the 17.5% from the juniors. And we know that because the juniors had 17.5% based off of our previous calculation, 17.5%, right? That's what the juniors had. And so if we add, right, 16%, right, plus the 36.5 plus 17.5, we're going to get 70%. So we have 100 minus 70%. And so that's going to give us 30%. So the answer here is going to be 30%. That's the percentage representing sophomores, 30%. Okay, let's move on to the next question. Question III. It says, calculate the degree of the sector representing freshmen. The degree of the sector representing freshmen. Okay, so we want to figure the degree of the sector representing freshmen. And so that's going to be, we have 36.5%. We want the degree of the sector representing freshmen. So we have to do 36.5% of 360 degrees because we want to figure out the degree of the sector representing freshmen, and it's going to be 36.5% of, which means multiply 360 because 360 is the total amount for the angles in the circle. So we know it's going to be 36.5 all over 100 because that's how we express percentage as fractions. Multiplied by 360 over 1. We multiply 36.5 by 360. So 36.5 multiplied by 360 is going to be 13,140. And we multiply 100 by 1, which is going to be 100. Next, we divide. We have 1,000. So we have 13,140 divided by 100. And that's going to be, so we have, again, 13,140 divided by 100. And that's going to give us $131.40. And so that's the degree of the sector? No. I shouldn't say $131. I'm sorry. It's 131.40 degrees. I hope I didn't, yeah, degrees. Very good. So let me repeat that again. We do 36.5% multiplied by 360 because we're trying to figure out the amount of degrees, right? That 36.5% represents of 360 degrees. We do 36.5 over 100. We multiply that by 360 over 1, and we end up getting 131.4 or 131.40 degrees, not in money. Okay, let's move on to the next question. It says, there is a total of 3,275 students in attendance. Calculate the number of senior students. Well, senior students account for 16%, right, of your student, of your total students. So it's going to be 16% of or multiplied by 3,275. And so it's going to be 16 over 100, right? It's going to be 16 over 100 multiplied by 3,275 over 1. And so let's multiply 16 times 3,275. That's going to be 52,400. And we do 100 multiplied by 1, which is going to be 100. And if we do 52,400 divided by 100, right, that's going to be 524. And so the answer here is going to be 524. That's going to be the number of senior students, the number of senior students from the total amount of 3,275 students in attendance. Okay, let's move on to question, the next question. It says, the pie chart represents the amount of money collected by various stalls at a church fair. An overall total of 12,640 was collected. So we have the game stall, which is 90 degrees, the food stall, which we have no information, the music stalls, which is 54 degrees, and the handicraft stalls, which is 20%. Now we need to figure what is the total amount of money collected by game stalls. All right. In order to figure that out, we need to determine the fraction, right? So we know that this is 90 degrees, right? Because it has a box, and that means that's 90 degrees out of 360, and it's out of 360 because angles in a circle out of the 360 degrees. So we have a 90 over 360 of, right, of or multiplied by 12,640 because that's the total amount of money that we have. So we have this fraction, 90 over 360 of 12,640. And so let's multiply 90 times 12,640. That's 90 times 12,640 is going to be equal to 1 million. Yeah, 1,137,600. Again, it's 1,137,600. And if we do 360 multiplied by 1, that's going to be 360. And so if we take 1,137,600 divided by 360, what do we get? We get 3,160. And so that's the amount of money collected by game stalls, 3,160. Okay, let's move on to the next question. They want us to figure out the percentage of the sector representing music stalls. Now, music stalls account for 54% out of a total of 360 degrees. So that's why we have 54 out of 360. But we want to take that fraction and multiply it by 100 to turn it into a percentage. So 54 over 360 multiplied by 100. And so we do 54 multiplied by 100. That's going to be 5,400, and we do 360 multiplied by 1, which is 360. And so we have 5,400 divided by 360, which is going to be 15. So the answer here is going to be 15%. So the percentage of the sector representing music stalls is 15%. Okay, let's move on to the next question. It says we want the angle representing handicraft stalls. We know the handicraft stalls is 20%. That's going to be 20% of 360. But what is 20%? Well, 20% is 20 over 100 multiplied by 360 over 1. Again, the of means multiplication. So 20% of 360, we do 20 over 100 multiplied by 360 over 1. We do 20 multiplied by 360. What is that? 20 multiplied by 360. That's going to be 7,200. And then we do 100 times 1, which is 100. And then we divide. 7,200 divided by 100 is definitely 72. So the answer here is 72 degrees. Is that? Yes, we're still in degrees, 72 degrees. Okay, let's move on to the next question. We have part D. We want to figure out the angle of the sector representing food stalls, right? The angle representing food stalls. Well, we already know that the angle for game stalls is 90. We already know that the angle for music stalls is 54 degrees. And we just figure out that the angle for handicraft was 72. And so let's put that there. This is 72 degrees. So this is 72 degrees. And so what we have to do is we have to add them all up together and then subtract them from 360. So we have 90 plus 54 plus 72. And we have to add them together and subtract them from 360. So that's 360 minus 216, because 90 plus 54 plus 72 is 216. And so we say 360 minus 216. That's going to be 144. And so the answer here is 144. All right, perfect. So the angle of the sector representing food stalls is 144. Okay, let's move on to the next question. It says, the circle graph shows the results of a survey on an internet provider subscription. A total of 550 residents were polled. Again, the circle graph shows the results of a survey on internet provider subscription. Again, the circle graph shows the results of a survey on internet provider subscription. A total of 550 residences were polled. So we have Cyberwave, that's 35%, Global, which is 18%, Flash, which is 72 degrees, and Speedy, which accounts for, we don't have no information for Speedy. So we want to figure out the number of residences using, residences using Global, that particular internet provider. Well, there's actually 18%, but 18% of what? 18% of 550, right? And so it's going to be of its multiplication, and so it's going to be 18 over 100 multiplied by 550 over 1. We do 18 times 550. Again, 18 times 550. That's going to be 9,900. And then we do 100 times 1, which is 100. We divide that by 100 and we get 99. So that means that the number of residences using Global, that internet provider, is going to be 99 residences. Okay, let's move on to the next question. It says we want the percentage of the sector representing Flash. Well, we already know that Flash accounts for 72 degrees, and that's 72 degrees out of 360 degrees, because we know the angles in a circle represent, we know angles in a circle add up to 360 degrees. So it's 72 out of 360. But we want to figure out what is the percentage of the sector representing Flash. We already know that the fraction representing Flash is 72 over 360. But we want to change that into a percentage. So we have to multiply by 100. And so we have 72 multiplied by 100. What is that? 72 multiplied by 100. That's going to be 7,200. And then we have 360 multiplied by 1, which is 360. And so what we have 7,200 divided by, so 7,200 divided by 360, that's going to be 20. And so the percentage representing Flash is going to be 20%. Okay, moving right along, we have this question. It says we want to calculate the percentage of the sector representing speedy. We want the percentage representing speedy. We already know that we have 18% for global, right? We have 35% for cyberwave, and we just figured out in the previous question that for flash, it's going to be what? 20%. For flash, it's going to be 20%. Do you recall that we got 20%? If you look carefully, let's go back. We just got 20% for flash. And so that means that the percentage of the sector for speedy is going to be, well, 18% for flash, 18% for global, 35% for cyberwave, and 20% for flash. And so what we get? 18 plus 35 plus 20 is going to be equal to 73 degrees. Sorry, 73%. So we have 100 minus 73%. All right, again, 100 minus 73%. And what is that? 100 minus 73%, that's going to be equal to 27%. So the answer here, the percentage of the sector representing speedy is 27%. Okay, so let's move on to the next question. Let's figure out the amount. We will calculate the degrees of the sector representing cyberwave. Well, we know that cyberwave accounts for 35%. And so that's going to be 35% of 360, seeing that 360 is the total amount for the angles. So we have 35% of 360. We know that 35% of means multiply. And so 35%, this means 35 over 100 multiplied by 360 over 1. Again, 35 over 100 multiplied by 360 over 1. And so we have 35 multiplied by 360. That's going to be equal to 12,600. And then we have 100 times 1, which is going to be 100. And so let's divide. So we can divide 12,600 by 100. And that's going to be 126. And so the degrees of the sector representing cyberwave is going to be 126 degrees. Okay, let's move on to the next question. It says the circle graph shows the results of a survey on daily internet. Sorry, the circle graph shows the results of a survey on daily internet use at Highbury High. A total number of 1,200 students were interviewed. So we have 1 to 2 hours is 22%, 3 or more hours, 42.5%, 51 degrees accounts for less than 1 hour, and 2 to 3 hours. Sorry, 2 to 3 hours, we have no information. And so they want us to calculate the number of students who use the internet 1 to 2 hours daily. The number of students. Well, according to the question or according to the pie chart or circle graph, we already have 22% who use it 1 to 2 hours daily. So it's going to be the number of students who use the internet 1 to 2 hours daily is going to be 20% of the total amount of students. And we know that 20%, 22% rather, not 20%, 22%. We know that of means multiply, so we're gonna multiply. And so it's gonna be 22%, which is 22 over 100 multiplied by 1,200 over 1. We multiply 22 by 12,000. Sorry, we multiply 22 by 1,200, and we get 26,400. Did I have it here? Yes, 26,400. I do not need this extra line. This extra line is not needed, so we don't need this extra line here. We can go straight to this line right now. So 22 times, when we do 22 times 1,200, we get 26,400, and we multiply 1 times 100, we get 100. So it's going to be 26,400 divided by 100, which is going to be 264. Okay, let's move on to the next question. We want to figure out the degrees of the sector. Again, we want to figure out the degrees of the sector representing 42.5% of students. And we want to figure out the degrees. How much degrees is it? So that's obviously going to be 42.5% of 360, because 360 is the total amount of degrees for the circle. And so we know that 42% written as a fraction will be 42. Sorry, this is 42.5%. 42.5% as a fraction, it's going to be 42.5 over 100 times 360 over 1. And the reason why it's time is because we're trying to find of, right, of 42% of 360. We multiply 42.5. 42.5 multiplied by 360 is going to be 15,300. And then we do 100 times 1, which is going to be 100. And so we divide 15,300 by 100. Again, 15,300 by 100. That's going to be 153. Again, 153. And so the answer is 153. That is the degrees representing 42.5% of students. Okay, moving right along, we have a next question. It says, we want to figure out the percentage of students who use the internet less than 1 hour daily. Again, it's the percentage of students that we're looking for. We already know that this is 54 degrees. And that 54 degrees comes out of 360. So we put it over 360. The fraction of students who use the internet less than 1 hour daily is 54 over 360. But we want to find the percentage of students who use the internet less than 1 hour daily. We're going to multiply that fraction by 100. So we have 54 times 100. Again, 54 times 100 is going to be 5,400. And then 360 multiplied by 1 is going to be 360. We take 5,400 and divide it by 360. We get 15. And so the answer here for the percentage of students who use the internet less than 1 hour daily is 15%. Okay, let's move on to the next question. It says, calculate the percentage of students who use the internet 2 to 3 hours daily. Well, we know that for 1 to 2 hours, it's 22%. We know that for 3 hours or more, it's 42.5%. And we just figured out that for 2 to 3 hours, it's going to be, sorry, we just figured out that for less than 1 hour, it's 15%. Remember, if we go back, who use the internet less than 1 hour, that's 15%, right? And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna say, okay, that means that this right here, right? This right here is 15%, all right? So that's 15%, right? And so we know this is 22%. We know this is 42.5%. And we know that this is what? 15%. And so we add those three together and we subtract it from 100 to get what it's going to be for 2 to 3 hours. And so it's going to be, what is 22 plus 42.5 plus 15? That's going to be 79.5. And so we subtract 100 with 79.5, all right? So 100 minus 79.5, the answer is going to be 20.5. And so it's going to be the percentage of students who use the internet 2 to 3 hours daily is going to be 20.5%, 20.5%. Okay, let's move on to the next question. If there is a next question. Okay, no, there is not. So that brings us to the end of this video. Thank you for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next lesson.